Can you really think of the Old West without picturing saloons? It's tough. They dotted the American frontier and shaped the landscape just as much as the dusty roads and creaking wagons did. The image is vivid. A wooden facade, swinging doors that never sit still. Horses lined up in the shade of the overhang, while inside, glasses clink on the bar. Before we dive deeper into this journey through the past, go ahead and hit the like button to support the channel. And if you want to catch every new episode, subscribe now and turn on the notifications. These bars came about as a direct response to the needs of folks heading west. Miners, cowboys, traders, and drifters traveled hundreds of miles chasing fortune, or just trying to survive. When they finally came across a trail crossing with an open saloon, they found more than just a drink. There'd be a makeshift bed, a card table, an out-of-tune piano, and above all, people ready to swap stories. That's how small settlements began to take shape. Taos and Santa Fe in New Mexico already had cantinas with strong Mexican influence, but the arrival of saloons changed the social landscape. Throw up 4 pine walls and tap a few whiskey barrels, and suddenly an unknown little spot turned into a must-stop destination, drawing in craftsmen, general stores, and even banks. Every time those doors swung open, news spread of a gold nugget discovery, a showdown that couldn't be avoided, or a great job opportunity down the road. In the early 1820s, a wooden building on the banks of the Green River became a popular stop for travelers crossing the vast American interior. It was Brown's Saloon, opened in Brown's Hole, the spot where Wyoming, Colorado, and Utah meet. Trappers came in not just for the whiskey. The bar turned into an impromptu market, a spoken-word post office, and a shelter from the loneliness of endless prairies. The idea caught on fast. Within a few seasons, similar bars popped up in canyons, along winding trails and near army forts. Soldiers at Bent's Fort, even back in the 1820s, would seal powder and leather trades with a quick toast. Before long, the sound of swinging doors followed the cattle drives. Dodge City became an almost mandatory stop on the great runs across the plains. Miners caught on to the value of these stops too. Before swinging their picks in the canyons, they'd gather to catch their breath, trade rumors about new veins, and build up their nerve. So in 1848, when gold was announced in Santa Barbara, a seaside cantina turned into more than 30 lantern-lit houses. Each round bought a moment of silence and brought fresh tales of giant nuggets and deadly cliffs. The stories traveled faster than the mules, fueling the fever that would drive crowds westward, and the clinking of glasses kept time with the march. The population boom in the West wasn't just on the Pacific coast. In 1883, Livingston, Montana, had around 3,200 residents, but already boasted 33 saloons. These places doubled as informal offices. Travelers closed deals, exchanged coins, and swapped stories about lands most people had only heard of. Each set of swinging doors was a crossroads between the known and the possible, drawing in anyone chasing a bit of luck. Once you stepped through that threshold, you quickly picked up on the barroom code. No hesitation allowed. Most folks pointed to rye or bourbon, knocked it back in one go, and slammed the glass down before the floorboards even stopped creaking. Anyone asking for a mixer or taking too long with their drink became the butt of jokes, unless they had a dangerous reputation. Nervous newcomers had extra reason not to waste a drop. In towns where guns did the talking, leaving whiskey in the glass might just earn you a cold barrel to the forehead. Ordering beer was a whole different adventure. The keg sat at room temperature, somewhere between 55 and 65 degrees Fahrenheit, with hardly any foam. The trick was to finish your mug before the fizz disappeared. It wasn't until the 1880s rolled around that this ritual began to change. Thanks to artificial refrigeration and pasteurization, pushed by Adolphus Busch, big breweries could ship their bottles across the country. One brand quickly took over those newly chilled shelves: Budweiser. By the end of the 19th century, asking for a cold beer would have sounded strange. The European way was to drink it at cellar temperature, and that's how it was done. But step through the swinging doors of a saloon tucked in a frontier mining town, and you'll see a different kind of liquid that matters. Chips sliding fast across the table. The creak of the floorboards sets the rhythm as cards are shuffled, while prospectors, sheriffs, cowboys, trainmen, soldiers, and gunslingers crowd around the green felt, each one hoping to walk away with heavier pockets. Faro is king of the night, followed by Bragg, three-card Monte, and dice games like High-Low, Chuck-a-Luck, and Grand Hazard. Deadwood, Leadville, Tombstone, and so many other gold rush hotspots live and breathe this atmosphere, drawing in folks who swear they've got a winning hand. Most of them find out quick that luck's like the wind. It changes direction without warning. When the chips run dry, the air gets thick, and the jingle of coins gives way to the snap of triggers. Doc Holliday and Wild Bill Hickok knew that if you wanted to wake up the next morning, you had to be sharp with your cards, and even quicker with your draw. That's when an unspoken rule took hold. Hesitate, and you lose more than just money. To handle all that adrenaline, many saloons never closed. Oil lamps burned through the night, and every sunrise brought a new stranger pushing through the swaying doors, ready to test their luck against fate. Card tables shared space with steaming plates of food, while bowling alleys provided a soundtrack for travelers shaking the dust off the trail. One door over, pool cues cracked against green felt. Farther in, couples improvised dance steps in halls where the music kept going till dawn. The thread tying all these corners together was simple. Drinks served without checking the clock. Their names stood out just as much as the patrons. First Chance in Miles City, Bull's Head in Abilene, and Holy Moses in Creed. Hollywood may have exaggerated the fame of swinging doors, but it never passed up the dramatic punch they delivered. The creak of wood signaled trouble. The hero appears framed in the noonday light. The chatter dies down, and in a flash, some unlucky soul goes flying through a window in a spray of glass. Behind the theatrics, though, the day-to-day moved to a different beat. Regulars leaned on the bar for so long they wore calluses into their elbows. Marks of a noisy daily grind where rumors were born, deals were made, and unspoken pacts took shape. There was barely room for loneliness at those tables. Laughter spread like wildfire. Glasses clinked in promises of good fortune, and new stories sparked up before the next tune could fill the air. The place buzzed with unspoken rules about who could and couldn't cross that threshold. Unwritten codes that kept the peace, or at least stopped the chaos from spilling out into the street. On short frontier nights, the saloon's swinging doors acted like a ruthless gatekeeper. Native people were kept outside. Black men only got through if they had a reputation, at the card table or with a gun, and Chinese immigrants avoided even walking past on the sidewalk. Even soldiers weren't welcome. Deserters crowded the tables and didn't trust anyone in uniform. Still, the bar wasn't just about booze. Through thick smoke and the sound of a makeshift harmonica, deals were struck, grudges took root, and legends were planted. Ones that could blow up before the glass was empty. Respect and suspicion shared the same stool, and one wrong sip could turn into a duel. As the stories piled up, so did the rumors. Soldiers were said to have brought diseases to the women in parlor houses, spreading fear like poker chips on a table. Respectable ladies stayed locked inside. Only the saloon girls moved through that world, balancing charm and stigma. But the world didn't stop at the beat of the out-of-tune piano. After World War I, the country began to question the old ways. Some of the very women once shut out returned to the streets, this time holding signs, linking arms with the temperance movement. Town by town, they led crusades that aimed to silence the ruckus of the saloons for good. And every door that shut became proof that the old wooden kingdoms could fall to a new march. In the still-forming territory of the Old West, the saloon was almost always the first building to go up. The bar started shining before there was a post office or general store, becoming the go-to spot for anything urgent. With no courthouse around, Judge Roy Bean stacked bottles behind him and handed down sentences between sips. In Hays City, Kansas, the preacher gave his first sermons in the Tommy Drum Saloon, a sign that if there were benches and a roof, any purpose could fit in there. These bars offered quick entertainment, but also news, shelter, and a stage. At the same poker table, future legends might sit. Wyatt Earp testing his draw, Doc Holliday sharpening his grin, Bat Masterson reading faces while trading chips. Glory always came hand in hand with danger. Bob Younger wrote in 1876 that out on the frontier, folks accepted rough manners. And he wasn't kidding. Broken glasses could become targets, curses turned into gunfire, and blood-stained floors were constant reminders that any night could be your last. The most famous example is Wild Bill Hickok. He laid down his cards at Saloon number 10 in Deadwood, and Jack McCall shot him in the back. The swinging doors kept creaking afterward, as if warning each newcomer that you left that place with fame, fortune, or a bullet. Still, the next wagon train always looked for the glow of the sign, drawn in by the clink of coins and the promise that behind that bar, the true soul of the town was born. On the sweltering night of August 19, 1895, a gunshot cut through the laughter, clinking glasses, and creaking tables in a saloon in El Paso. John Wesley Hardin dropped, shot in the back. In that world of whiskey shots and marked cards, any bet could turn into a duel. It only took a sideways glance for someone to decide justice belonged in their own holster. Through the haze of smoke, one group kept the heart of the saloon beating, the Saloon Girls. With tuned-up songs, practiced steps, and easy conversation, they stretched out every round. More time, more chips on the table. Not all saloons, though, leaned into that volatile vibe. North of Front Street in Dodge City, strict rules held sway. Guns were checked at the door, women on stage weren't part of the show, and the games had clear boundaries. Instead of shouting and fists slamming on the table, there was piano music, the soft clack of billiard balls, and the quiet invitation of one more drink. Still, plenty of folks chased the risky glow of bars where danger and pleasure walked hand in hand, while others looked for the calm of a place where the talk flowed easy, without surprises. When the gold rush lit up California in 1849, all it took was 4 wooden walls to start a new saloon. And with it, the promise of adventure for any stranger willing to roll the dice. Inside, the dancing was about more than just having fun. The ticket, sold for 80 cents to $1, kept a whole system running. Dancers and owners split every penny. When the band packed up their instruments, no one stacked the chairs. The dance floor turned into a bar, and every drink bought still earned commission for the same women who'd just lit up the stage. It was a well-rehearsed ritual, part show, part business, shaped by the irreverent spirit of the Old West. Decades have gone by, but the echoes of those nights still linger. Modern bars and music venues remain meeting places for folks looking to strike a deal or just shake off the day's stress. With every raised glass, the old promise comes alive again, of opportunities and encounters that just might change a life. If this trip through the past kept you hooked, leave a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below telling us which legendary stories you want to see next. Thanks for coming along, and we'll see you in the next round of curiosities.